Litepanels describes the Croma Flight Kit as being the most versatile, lightweight LED light kit ever, and I wouldn't disagree. Long before Litepanels decided to create a kit with 3 chromas, I had already put together a similar kit on my own from scratch. I use my chroma kit whenever I need a lightweight, run-and-gun package that can be carried anywhere, even on board an airplane, and then deployed on location in a matter of minutes to create very nice lighting. Let's start by taking a look at what's included with the Croma Flight Kit. First, you've got 3 identical chroma lights. I usually power my chromas with AA rechargeable batteries, which typically provide 90 to 120 minutes of runtime at full power, and quite a bit longer than that when the lights are dimmed down even a little bit. Speaking of dimming, the larger knob is for changing the intensity of the light, and the smaller of the 2 dials allows you to adjust the color temperature from daylight to tungsten or anything in between. On the other side of the light, you'll find a slot for inserting the 3 supplied diffusion filters. These come in handy whenever you want to make the light from the chroma a little bit softer and perhaps easier on the eyes of your talent. But be aware that it also reduces the intensity of the light, so my advice is to use the filter sparingly. The Croma Flight Kit offers a variety of mounting options as well. First, it comes with 3 compact light stands that can extend up to 6 feet. You'll notice that unlike most other stands, these stands have a 1/4-20 threaded post at the top that allows you to screw the chroma directly onto the stand without any extra mounting hardware. Now, for some setups that might be fine, but you'll quickly realize that this method does not allow you to tilt the light for precise aiming at your subject. And that's exactly why the kit also includes 3 ball head shoe mounts and 3 TVMP adapters for maximum flexibility with positioning. For situations where a light stand just won't get the job done, the kit also includes a Manfrotto Justin spring clamp so that you can mount a chroma almost anywhere. There's even an extra slot in the carrying case for a 4th chroma or a daylight-only luma if you decide to expand your kit. And you'll notice that there's another cutout that's designed to hold a Litepanels Micro Pro or a Sola E&G in case you decide to add one of those lights to your kit. So despite its small size, the highly portable Croma Flight Kit is actually capable of holding a total of 5 lights. That's amazing. Now let's take a look at how the Croma Flight Kit can be used in some common shooting scenarios. But really, the only limiting factor of how a chroma can be used is your own ingenuity. First of all, as I said earlier, a single chroma makes a very versatile on-camera top light for run-and-gun shooting situations. By rotating the bicolor knob, you can easily adjust the chroma so its output better matches the color of the prevailing ambient light you're mixing it with. And you can also dim the light up or down to get the desired intensity. Naturally, your first priority is to make sure you have enough illumination to ensure a proper exposure, but don't make the common mistake of having the light turned up too bright. Compare these 2 shots. They're both identical except for the intensity of the light and the f-stop that the camera used to get the correct exposure, but the overall look is very different. I don't know about you, but I prefer the one on the right because it looks more natural, and it also saves battery power because the light has been dimmed down significantly. Another trick you can try with the chroma during handheld shooting, assuming you have a production assistant available to lend a hand, is to take the light off the camera and mount it on an inexpensive telescoping extender such as this one from X-Shot. But without a doubt, the most common use for the Croma Flight Kit is for shooting interviews and other types of headshots. There isn't hardly a documentary, corporate video, or news story that doesn't include these types of shots. In a typical interview setup with classic 3-point lighting, you'll want to use 1 chroma as the key light, 1 chroma as your fill light, and the 3rd chroma as your backlight. As I said earlier, the first step should always be to choose your location wisely. I suggest looking for locations where you have an interesting looking background that already has some nice light on it, and then you could use the 3 lights from your kit to make the talent look great. Almost without exception, the key light should be placed on the same side of the camera as where the interviewer will be seated. The order should be camera, interviewer, key light. You'll probably find that placing the key light about 4 feet from the subject at a 30 to 45 degree off-axis angle from the camera and raised so that it's just slightly above the head of the subject is a good place to start. Notice that if you rotate the chroma vertically, it will better match the shape of the human body, and it also helps keep light from spilling to the sides. Now, no 2 setups are exactly the same, so the final positioning will vary from shot to shot, but this starting point will get you in the ballpark. And don't be worried about getting the lights too close to the talent. I find that most people set their lights too far away. During this part of the setup process, you should have the light powered all the way up to 100% so you can see everything it's got. You can always dim it down later if it turns out that you don't really need the light's full power. But for those times when even full power doesn't seem to be enough, then you'll need to move the light closer to the subject. In fact, cutting the distance in half between the light and the subject will make it appear 4 times brighter, so even moving the light a little bit can make a big difference. However, the point of the key light is not to see how much light you can blast onto the subject. The key light has 2 purposes. First, to ensure that the camera has enough light to get the correct exposure, and second, to make the talent look good. If you add too much light, it can become counterproductive. Now it's time to bring in the fill light. The primary purpose of the fill light is to control the contrast ratio between the light and dark sides of the face. In general, flat lighting, where both sides of the face are evenly lit, should not be your goal. But an exception to that rule is if the talent will be speaking directly to the camera. In that instance, often it does look better if the key and fill lights have nearly equal intensity. With classic 3-point lighting, the fill light should be positioned on the opposite side of the camera from the key light and at about the same height as the top of the subject's head. As I said before, it's best to have the lights running at full power while you position them, and then you can dial down the dimmer to get the final look that you want. Sometimes you may want a dramatic, high contrast look, but usually a softer look with subtle shadowing looks better. Now with the key light and the fill light in position, it's time to think about what we're going to do with the third chroma in the light kit. Generally, you'll want to use it as a backlight on the talent's head and shoulders. The ideal position for a backlight is behind the talent directly opposite from the camera. But unfortunately, placing the light there would put the light stand right in the shot, so you'll need to slide the stand over to the side until it's just out of the frame. However, that's not an ideal angle for the backlight, so a better solution is to add a few accessories to your light kit that will allow you to fly the backlight into the preferred position, like this. Notice how the backlight is now suspended directly opposite the camera for maximum effectiveness, without the light stand being seen in the shot. There are many ways of creating a solution like this, and my preference is to use a Manfrotto convertible boom stand as seen here. But a lighter weight alternative is to use something like an Elinchrom EL boom arm, a Matthews mini grip head, and a Matthews mini Mathellini clamp to fly the backlight in and suspend it just above the camera's frame. For safety and stability, you'll also want to place a sandbag or something else heavy on the base of the light stand to weigh it down. In this setup, a zippered pouch that's full of spare camera batteries is being used, so no extra equipment has to be brought to the shoot. You can use the chroma's dimmer knob to get the intensity just the way you want it, and that's one of my favorite things about using LED lights. Now the point of the backlight is just to separate the talent from the background and give your 2D image more of a 3D feel. Generally, you'll want the light to strike the top parts of both shoulders equally and at the same time put a little light on the hair. Often a subtle backlight is more effective than an overly strong one, so don't get carried away and overdo it. If you're like me and prefer a backlight that's just a little warmer than the key light, that's easy to accomplish by simply turning the bicolor knob until you get the desired mix of color temperature. So that's a pretty basic 3-point lighting setup with the Croma Flight Kit that would work well with many of the shooting scenarios and locations you're apt to encounter. But let's take a couple more minutes and look at some other examples of the Croma Flight Kit in action. In this example, we've got one chroma as a key, one chroma as a fill, and the third chroma is now being used as a kicker instead of a backlight. The kicker's effectiveness doesn't come from how it illuminates the subject directly, it comes from how its light reflects off the side of the talent's head. In this example, the room is relatively dark without very much ambient light, and I wanted more light on the background than that, so 2 chromas are being used on the talent, and the third chroma is lighting the background. In this example, 2 chromas are being used for a shot with slow motion. Notice that there's none of the flickering you get at high frame rates with many other brands of lights. Both of the chromas have had their diffusion gels inserted to create a softer light. In this shot, I've hidden a chroma inside the oven to give it some added life. And finally, in this example, a Manfrotto suction grip has been used to mount a chroma to the windshield and put some fill light on the driver's face. The combination of the bicolor feature and the dimmer allowed me to get the color and intensity perfect so the shot looks natural.